Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra.
And welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Bison Media Zone. We do it each and every Wednesday here on WDAY Extra, give you up-to-date everything that's going on with North Dakota State athletics. We are in the summertime, but that means there's no shortage of big news happening with North Dakota State athletics, capped off by, of course, what went down Saturday night in Eugene, Oregon at the U.S. Olympic Trials. For the fourth straight Summer Olympics, NDSU will have a rep there. Payton Otterdahl qualifying in the shot put trials, finished third, and he's off to Paris for the games that'll begin in about a month's time. The shot put will begin on August 2nd, and we have Payton joining us this morning, fresh off a trip to Eugene, Oregon, and now back in Lincoln, Nebraska, where he resides now. I told you last week, let's talk when you're an Olympian again. I'm so pumped that we're able to do this for a second time. Congratulations. Have things settled down, or is things still going crazy over the last few days?
I wouldn't say it's too crazy, but yeah, I just have had lots of messages of support flooding in, and people coming out of the woodwork telling me congrats, people I haven't talked to in a while, so I'm definitely feeling the love right now.
Well, I got to imagine that's got to feel great, right? The people that you maybe haven't heard from a long time to message you.
Yes, I'm glad that people are still following along with my athletic journey.
Let's go to just take me back to Saturday night. I'm watching it and thankful that Peacock was able to stream it because NBC was pretty sparse with its coverage, which is a whole other story we can get into. But emotions of Saturday night, knowing full well you knew what you needed to do. What was the mindset heading into the final competition?
Just get in and execute properly. I was coming in with a pretty decent lead with a third place seed coming into the meet. So I knew that if I just execute technique properly, I'd be happy with the results.
But then the first throw is a foul. Well, tell me what happened were you nervous or frustrated or a little bit of both?
Well, with Ryan Krauser and Joe Kovacs going huge in round one, I wanted to be up there with them. So I think I just pressed a little too hard. Technique didn't quite execute, ended up putting it just out of bounds of the sector. It was a pretty decently far throw, but it was just out of bounds, which is crazy because I don't even know the last time I did that, threw a throw out of sector. It's been years.
I was going to ask you that. Wow.
That was a little strange for sure because even in practice, it's been so long since I put one out of the sector. So it just took me a little while after that to kind of find my groove again.
It seemed after that third throw, it seemed like you felt like you were in the groove. Like, okay, each throw I'm getting better. Was that a thought process where mentally I'm just each one I want to get better and keep climbing up the leaderboard?
Yeah, I could still feel that, there was still some pretty major stuff going wrong with my technique, mostly in the finish of the throw. The setup was decent out of the back of the ring. But once I got to the front, I was just going straight to my arm, which is no good. I have to use my legs because that's where all the power comes from. So I was just being way too antsy, way too quick to get upstairs and hit it with my arm and punch it hard. I just had to remember to kind of relax a little bit, set it up with properly, and then the result will be what I want.
Seeing the fifth throw, the big one, your reaction afterwards, you knew it. Tell me what went through your mind after that one landed, or even when you threw it.
Just relief, like finally. It took longer than it needed to, but I was glad that I finally set one up, at least decent enough to get that third place spot.
Did you know right when it let it go that was a good one, a big one?
No, because even still, like just being off that day, the technique was still not great on it. I knew that it felt better off my hand. It's usually right on the release. You know if it's a decent one. So it felt better off the hand, but still not executing properly.
Well, watching the broadcast and see where it landed, I'm like, okay, that seems like a good one. It seemed like a big one. Then the crowd reacts. What was that reaction like for you?
Honestly, I didn't even really listen to the crowd in that. I saw it land. I knew that it was better. I knew that it was good enough to move into the top three, and it was over that 22-meter line. So just more relief. Like I remember I just kind of threw my hands up a little bit like, all right, I finally got one.
So when you have that sixth throw, is that just, okay, I'm going to, try and throw it as far as I can, or was it just, you know what, not hurt myself here?
Oh no, I'm like, because I didn't throw as good as I wanted to in the first 3 rounds. I was earlier in the order, so there was athletes that I had passed in the ranking. I was now sitting third, but there was 2 more guys that still had to throw that could pass me again in round 6. So I didn't feel relaxed at that point. I knew I was of the mindset that's not good enough. I still have to throw it further. So I was trying to get one more out there to just kind of separate a little bit more from the next few places. But it was set up pretty well. Kind of missed the front again. It was still better than all my other, my first 4 rounds, but not enough to add a little more distance than the round 5.
When we talked last week, you told me that 21 almost felt like a fluke. Does that take away that you've done it now a second time? You've done this and earned another trip to go back to the Olympics?
Yes, this time around it was me doing what I was supposed to. I think I came in with the mindset that I'm supposed to be on this team. If I don't make the team, it's something that I did wrong. It was my team to lose, essentially. Felt like I was kind of competing against me out there a little bit.
Did you feel pressure on yourself as it was going along?
Oh, sure. This is one of those meets that you just have to qualify for. It's like the regional meet in college. You get 3 throws. You got to be top 12 to go on to the national meet. This is like that on steroids. It's you get 6 throws, but you got to be in that top 3. It's not today, or I guess the trials isn't about throwing a new personal best. It's about being good enough to advance, survive and advance. So we did just that.
When you look at, and I want to talk about what Krauser did in a second, but to have this happen again for a second time, and I want to talk about the Olympics and all that in just a minute, but that you did it, you battled through surgery to come through and do it again. It's got to feel even more personally gratifying, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's nothing like making an Olympic team, and whether it's your first, second, third, I can tell with talking to the veterans, Ryan and Joe, like there's no feeling like it. It's the greatest feeling.
You mentioned Ryan, so he goes and throws something crazy. I mean, it almost looked like it went out of the shot pit. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're there. I mean, are you just marveling at this guy because you work out with him? You know what he can do. Has he even surprised you guys as fellow competitors?
At this point, being that he's undisputed the greatest shot putter of all time, so we don't really get surprised by that stuff anymore. Even more so, like I want to beat him just as bad as anyone. So I'm wanting to be up there by where he is. He is the goal. He's the prize. So I'm trying to get up by where he is. I think that once he threw 2280, it would obviously take a huge personal best for me to pass him after that. But when he opened up with 2240, that was within reach.
Yeah,
for sure. Just didn't quite execute well enough that day to catch him.
I heard, and I had several people that I know don't watch shot put probably very often that were watching around here on Saturday night, and they heard different broadcasters say, this is the hardest team in the world to make. I know this is a comment you made to me when we visited last week. How much more validation do you need after hearing that you did it and knowing how difficult of all the teams, shot put might be the hardest one to get on?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely up there. This is so it took in 2021 what I threw to get bronze was the most it had ever taken to make the Olympic team in the U.S. shot put, and that was
wow.
72 feet. Well, now 2024, it just took more than ever to make that team at 73 feet. So the bar just keeps getting raised in U.S. men's shot, and I mean that 73 feet right there. That's the 4th biggest mark in the world,
man,
right now, and that's what it takes to make the U.S. team. So it's pretty incredible that U.S. men's shot is where it is. I think it's just a whole lot of men kind of pulling each other up. Obviously, Ryan and Joe leading the charge, but everyone else, it's you got to keep up with them or you're going to fall behind.
All right, so now it's onto the world stage and the Olympics. Who else is there besides you three? Who's the other contender out there that could potentially upset the apple cart?
Right now, this year, there's an Italian guy named Leonardo Fabri. He's been very, very consistent. He's having the season of his life. He is number 2 in the world right now.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, he's number 2. So technically, his mark is ahead of Krauser right now. So he's the big one, but you can't count out New Zealand's Tom Walsh. He's the 2017 world champ, Olympic bronze medalist at the last 2 Olympics. You can never count him out. And then there's plenty of other tough guys that, any given day could pop out a big throw.
And these are all competitors, though, from last year in the Worlds, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once you kind of make it on the circuit in this sport, we're competing against the same guys at almost every single meet. So we've competed with all these guys tons and tons of times.
How much does that not necessarily make things easier for you, but you know full well what you're going up against because you competed against these guys already?
Yeah, you can kind of look at how the results have been going in the season. And, there can be that odd pop off where someone has, like a massive season best or a personal best. But in the shot put, especially right now, people are a little bit more consistent. So they kind of stay where they've been at for most of the season. If they peak well, they'll improve at the Olympics. But overall, you don't see too many crazy things happen.
I wanted to go back to the trials real quick. I was interested to see you had a couple of college guys competing with you. How big of a deal is that? You obviously did it. Now you've been doing this professionally for a bit. How impressive is it to have some current collegiate athletes in the finals with you guys on Saturday night?
Oh, it's huge. I think that we just had one in the final. Tarek O'Hagan from Ole Miss. He's a super stud. He's going to be really good someday. He's young. He's only a sophomore.
Holy cow.
The future is going to be bright with him, I think. He's also an amazing hammer thrower. He's in the U.S. trials for the hammer throw, too, in a few days. So I'll be keeping an eye on that.
I noticed, maybe I'm off on this. How are you talking to other guys during the competition? Are you guys talking with one another?
Sometimes. The trials is a little bit different where everyone's so focused.
Yep.
We don't really, shoot the breeze too much while we're competing. That's definitely the case at most, if not all, other meets. But the trials is just a little bit different than your average U.S. champs. It's just there's a little bit more on the line, and people just seem to be a little bit more focused.
What was it like to have your family there on Saturday night?
Oh, amazing. I mean, the trials is the last time I'll compete in the U.S. this season. So to be able to have so many family members and friends and coach being there, it means a lot to be able to share in that moment with all of them. I mean, there's no making the trials or making the Olympic team is amazing, but going over to the crowd and sharing that with my family immediately after you're on the team, that's where it's all about.
So travel-wise, we talked about this last week. Nobody could go. I imagine. Are your parents going to go? Who can travel with you? Who said they're going to go to Paris?
A lot of family members
awesome.
And friends there's a lot of talk. I have the close family, girlfriend, parents. They're all confirmed that they're going to go.
Awesome.
A lot of friends that are still on the bubble, on the fence about it, because it is incredibly expensive. So, got a couple friends and family that we're gonna have a hard time getting over there, but I got my t-shirt sales coming up again like I did through the last Olympics.
Awesome.
So we're gonna try to raise some funds so that we can get some more family members over that weren't able to make it at the last Olympics.
Well, you keep me posted on that. I'll let people know about it, all right? So we can let people know on the show about the t-shirt stuff. You weren't allowed to do anything in 21. Are you going to walk in the opening ceremony? Have you had plans about that yet?
That's the plan.
Awesome.
I'll be there for the whole time. I have a couple competitions before that are in Europe. I have a meet in Switzerland and a meet in London. And directly after that, I'll be headed to Paris and be there for the whole time.
That's fantastic. Just what do you think you're most excited about? We talked about the competition is one thing, but it's the aspect of it that you really didn't get to enjoy 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think, I'm most excited just to have family members there to experience it. Since they didn't get to experience any of that the last time around. I remember that they had watch parties at 5 a.m. since we were in Tokyo competing on the other side of the world. So I'm glad that I'm going to have friends and family that are going to be there that can watch and just experience the Olympics with me.
Is there what you need to know for what you need to throw? Is there a foot, like, okay, I got to hit 70 whatever if I want to be on the medal stand? Have you got that in your mind yet?
It's going to take a lot. I mean, it's probably going to take more than what it take to make the team at the trials. It just depends what version of every athlete shows up that day, but it could very well take something like, 2290 or 75 feet to medal this year. It's definitely within the realm of everyone's ability.
My last question for you, bud. I started this 4 straight Summer Olympics now. NDSU has had a representative. What's that mean to you when I say that?
It means everything. I think that I saw a stat that there's been 7 total Olympians at the Outdoor Olympics or the Summer Olympics for NDSU. And now after this past weekend, I'm the only one who's 2-time Olympian from NDSU. So I take a lot of pride in that. I train here at Nebraska, and their wall of Olympians just for track is huge. It's dozens of athletes, at NDSU, and especially for the track, which I think has had the most representation at the Olympics at NDSU. It's just 3. There's 3 of us in there. You can see our banners on the north side of the track. So just to be able to represent like that on the big stage, it means a lot.
I have one more I want to sneak in. What do you think's going to go through your mind? You hear your name announced in the Olympic Stadium on August 2nd.
I don't know. I can't really say. It's going to be exciting. I'm sure that I'll be locked in and focused for the meet that I probably won't even notice too much.
It's great to see you again. I really appreciate you making time. I know you're crazy busy. Congratulations. And I know you got a little ramp up here to get going. Thanks so much for the time, and good luck in Paris, okay?
Of course. Thank you. Go Team USA.
Payton Otterdahl, North Dakota State alum, national champion for the Bison, and now 2-time Olympian. It could be in the shot put, begins August 2nd and August 3rd, and he will be in contention. He finished 10th at the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 2021. We'll break. We'll get you ready. It's a big night for the Summit League in the NBA draft, believe it or not. We'll do that when we wrap up the Bison Media Zone right after this. Welcome back here on the Bison Media Zone. Just a couple minutes left in our show, and the Summit League may be able to tout another NBA draft pick. Baylor Shireman, of course, spent the last 2 years at Creighton. Previous to that, his first 3 years were at South Dakota State. Of course, he was the 2022 Summit League Player of the Year. He spent the last 2 years playing for former UND Bison coach Greg McDermott at Creighton. Could be quite the deal for the league tonight if he is able to be drafted. Now, it's been a little bit. Last guy that was drafted out of the Summit, I want to say it was Nate Walters, another jackrabbit by the Wizards. I want to say back in 2013. Shireman was a dynamite player, and latest draft projection actually has him going, I saw one of them, to the Timberwolves with the 27th overall pick. I believe ESPN's latest one, I'm looking at it right now, has the Wolves picking Shireman 27th overall, who turns 24 on September the 26th. Again, just reading his stock here, one of the big risers in the pre-draft process, starting with a strong showing at the NBA Draft Combine and continuing with workouts where he impressed with his diverse shot-making prowess, basketball instincts, and competitiveness that should allow him to be a plug-and-play option. So we'll see tonight. South Dakota State will brag this up, as well they should, if he is drafted tonight in the NBA draft, and we'll keep an up on that. Thanks so much to Payton Otterdahl for joining us. Next edition of the Bison Media Zone coming up next Wednesday at 10:30 here on WDAY Extra. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.